My name is Jonathan Victory. I've wanted to go to New Zealand since I first saw Lord of the Rings, so maybe this film can be a worthwhile record of what travel is like on the autistic spectrum, of what travel was like before the coronavirus pandemic, and of what travel can bring to people's lives.
Jonathan Victory is an Irish filmmaker with autism spectrum disorder, and he made this film, A Far Green Country, about his adventures going to New Zealand, trying to follow the footsteps of the making of the Lord of the Rings trilogy by seeing the locations, recognising that, and just putting his feet somewhat in the feet of the hobbits and Frodo that some 20 years ago had trodden on the same grounds. This film really deserves a special mention. The film is a 1 hour 15 documentary about the personal struggles and successes of travelling to a far distant country for the first time while experiencing the overstimulation and the stigmas of being on the autism spectrum, but getting through it, getting past it, but also just getting stuck sometimes. It's a very honest and candid view of life when you're thrust into a situation that you can't control, but you have a mission and you really want to do the best to support the story you're telling. I was really compelled when watching this documentary by Jonathan's honesty about himself and about what he was experiencing on that journey. Obviously, for me, there's also the connection with the fact that following in the footsteps of cinema makers of such renowned films is always interesting. It's always it's almost akin to watching a making of when you hear other people talk about who trod on these grounds, what part of the film was shot in this part, and so forth. The Lord of the Rings doesn't really talk about personal challenges when facing life. It's a different world that is being described there. So when you're really following the footsteps of great storytelling and you're facing additional challenges, there's a big detachment that most people do not realise, they do not acknowledge. You might have a mission, that to make a documentary about a journey, about a different story that was told decades prior, but that does not mean that your ride is going to be easy. And Jonathan does face numerous challenges, and a lot of those challenges are challenges even I find in my daily life, even if I'm not trying to explore New Zealand every day. So I really felt an emotional connection with Jonathan, his personal point of view about the adventure, his personal troubles when engaging with people around him, those helping him and those maybe not so helpful. And that was truly emotional for me. Lots of people suffer, even if they're not neurodivergent. They suffer when they're travelling. Travelling is stressful. What I love about this documentary is that Jonathan does manage to find some humour in it. He manages to find the bright side of things, and he also manages to appreciate those who did help him in constructive ways. I also love the fact that he was daring enough to say, I'm going to do part of the journey by with the company of my sister and others, and then part of the journey by myself. That may be a massive challenge that he overcome, but he did that and he documented it. So in a sense, the preconceived notion of an audience was always with him because he knew he was recording it and he knew at some point people would see this, and that might have been the comfort that got him through some of those most challenging moments in telling his story. Nevertheless, these two things merged together: the pursuit of the Lord of the Rings and his own personal pursuit of capturing his own story with his own challenges, and the combination of the two was simply just a joy to witness, a joy in overall most cases. I also felt empathy for when Jonathan was feeling challenged by his environment. As an audience, it's much easier to witness someone else's struggle on screen because you're not there. But I did feel the connection with his struggles and with me simply observing them. So I think a great accomplishment done making a film about such an adventure. And I really think, hopefully, if Peter Jackson was able to watch this documentary, he would also appreciate that someone with a great passion, being a fan of a famous trilogy, goes to such an extent, surpassing personal barriers in order to get this journey documented and making an actual great film in its own right. So well done, Jonathan, for the idea, for pursuing it, for overcoming all of your struggles when you were there, but ultimately for creating a very nice, interesting documentary that I think people, both fans of Lord of the Rings and people who just like documentaries and maybe have something to do with the autism spectrum disorder community, will really find themselves engaged and connected with. And I think not only did you help yourself with this documentary, you're going to be helping a lot of audience watching it from different parts of the world. So thank you very much for sharing it, for making it, and for just being a part of the world of filmmaking by producing this staple film for everyone in different communities and in different creative elements of life. Thank you.